Be me, Lydia, 41, senior project manager. Been with Emmanuel for 14 years, married for 11. Consider myself intellectually evolved, someone who sees through the constructed narratives that keep society stagnant. Spent years trying to help Emmanuel understand the systems of oppression he unconsciously perpetuates. Every conversation an opportunity for education, every interaction a chance to dismantle problematic patterns. It's a Tuesday evening when everything starts unraveling. Emmanuel comes home from his job at the engineering firm looking tired. He's holding some takeout because I texted him to grab dinner. I'm at the kitchen table with my laptop, finishing a report. He sets the food down and mentions he's thinking about joining a weekend softball league with guys from work. I don't even look up from my screen. Really? You want to spend your free time engaging in performative displays of athletic dominance with other men? That's the best use of your time? It stands there for a moment, silent. I thought it would be fun, maybe healthy to get some exercise and fun. It's socialized competition, Emmanuel. It's literally training grounds for aggressive masculine posturing. But sure, go bond over who can hit a ball the farthest. He sets down the bag harder than necessary. Can I just do something I enjoy without it being a political statement? I finally look up, feeling that familiar frustration rising. Everything is political, Emmanuel. Your refusal to examine why you're drawn to these activities is exactly the problem. You coast through life on default settings while some of us actually think critically. He walks away without responding. I hear the bedroom door close, feel vindicated, like I've stood my ground on something important. Open the takeout container and eat while scrolling through articles about workplace equity. This pattern has been our normal for years. Emmanuel would express interest in something. I'd deconstruct why that interest was problematic. Wanted to buy a sports car once, I gave him a 40-minute analysis of how car culture is tied to masculine inadequacy and environmental destruction. Mentioned watching a game with his brother Jason. I explained how spectator sports are bred in circuses, distractions from real systemic issues. Every time, I thought I was helping him evolve. Every time, he'd just go quiet and the conversation would end. Our physical relationship had deteriorated to nothing over the past 3 years. Whenever he'd initiate, I'd feel this visceral resistance. It felt like he wanted something from me, not with me. Started giving him readings about enthusiastic consent and emotional labor. I need to feel intellectually connected, I'd tell him. But every conversation where he'd try to connect, I'd find some flaw in his reasoning to correct, some internalized bias to point out, some blind spot to illuminate. He stopped trying to initiate anything, physically or emotionally. I told myself this was fine, that I didn't need that kind of validation, that a partnership should be based on mutual growth and challenge. The divorce papers come on a Thursday. I'm completely blindsided. He's at work, and a process server hands me an envelope at our front door. My hands shake as I read through the legal language. Irreconcilable differences. There's a note in his handwriting paper-clipped to the documents. I can't live the rest of my life being your project to fix. I deserve to be with someone who actually likes who I am. I'll be staying with Jason. My lawyer will be in touch. I call him immediately, 17 times. He doesn't answer. I call Jason, his younger brother. Jason picks up on the 4th ring. He doesn't want to talk to you, Lydia. Jason, this is insane. We need to discuss this like adults. He can't just... He tried discussing things for 11 years. You lectured him. There's a difference. Jason's voice has an edge I've never heard before. That's not fair. I was engaging with him intellectually, trying to help him understand. Understand what? That everything about him was wrong, that every interest he had was problematic, that wanting his wife to show him basic affection was male entitlement? Feel my face getting hot. I never said everything about him was wrong. I was pointing out problematic patterns that, Lydia, he's done. Actually done. Sign the papers. Make this easy for once. The line goes dead. Spend the weekend in complete shock. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. I'm the one who's aware, who's educated, who understands power dynamics. He's the one who should be grateful I pushed him to be better. Call my mother, expecting support. She listens quietly as I explain the situation. Well, honey, I always thought you were quite hard on him. Feel betrayed. Hard on him? I was helping him grow. Were you? Or were you trying to reshape him into something he never wanted to be? I can't believe you're taking his side. I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying Emmanuel was always kind to you, always tried to make you happy, and you always seemed disappointed in him. Get off the phone, feeling more isolated. Monday at work, my coworker Peter stops by my desk. Peter is 38, married with 2 kids, decent at his job, but not particularly ambitious. We've worked together for 6 years, always professional, but never close. Hey, Lydia, you got a minute? I'm buried in spreadsheets, not really in the mood for small talk. Kind of busy, Peter. What's up? He glances around the office. Can we grab a conference room? It's about something personal. My stomach drops. Does he know about Emmanuel? We walk to an empty room. Peter closes the door. He doesn't sit down, just stands there, looking uncomfortable. I heard about you and Emmanuel. Jason is friends with my brother-in-law. Small world. Cross my arms defensively. I don't really want to discuss my personal life at work, Peter. He nods slowly. I get that, but I'm going to say something anyway because someone needs to. Here we go. Another man ready to defend another man. Emmanuel is a good guy, Peter starts. He really is. And I watched you, for years, just tear him down piece by piece whenever he'd show up at company events. Feel my jaw clench. Peter, you don't know anything about my marriage. You're right. I don't know the private details, but I know what I saw. I saw you mock him in front of people, correct him constantly, roll your eyes when he talked, make little comments about his opinions being typical or limited. Peter's voice is getting louder, angrier. I watched this good-hearted guy who clearly loved you just shrink around you over the years. And you know what? My wife pointed it out before I even noticed. She said that poor man looks miserable and she treats him like he's stupid. My face is burning now. I never treated him like he was stupid. I engaged with him critically, which is more than most people do with their partners. Just because I didn't coddle him doesn't mean critically. Peter's voice actually rises to a shout. He catches himself, takes a breath, but his face is red with anger. Lydia, there's a difference between critical engagement and constant criticism. You made him feel like garbage, like everything about him was wrong and needed fixing. Peter paces the small conference room, clearly struggling to control his anger. Do you know how many times Emmanuel came to our company events and tried to connect with you, tried to put his arm around you, tried to be affectionate, and you'd physically recoil or make some comment about performative displays? I have boundaries about public. Boundaries? You're married to the guy. Or you were. He wasn't some creep hitting on you at a bar. He was your husband trying to show you affection. Peter slams his hand on the conference table. I've never seen him this angry. You know what Jason told my brother-in-law? That Emmanuel would come over and just sit in silence for hours because he was so emotionally exhausted from walking on eggshells around you. That he felt like he couldn't say anything, like anything, without you explaining why he was wrong to think it or feel it or want it. Every interest he had, you shit on. Every feeling he expressed, you invalidated. Every attempt to connect, you rejected. And you dressed it all up in this language of consciousness and awareness, but really you were just being cruel. Feel tears starting, which makes me angry at myself. That's not what I was doing. I was trying to make him think about things more deeply, to question the default programming that society. He didn't need to be fucking reprogrammed, Lydia. He needed to be loved. Peter's voice cracks a little. He needed a partner who respected him, who liked him, who didn't treat every conversation like a seminar where he was the remedial student. I'm crying now, trying to stay composed. You don't understand the dynamics, Peter. You don't understand what it's like to be the one who has to constantly educate, Educate? You weren't his teacher. You were supposed to be his wife. Peter runs his hands through his hair, trying to calm down. Listen to me. Really listen. Emmanuel didn't leave you because he's some regressive person who couldn't handle being challenged. He left you because you made him feel worthless, because you couldn't just let him be human, because you turned your marriage into an ongoing performance of your intellectual superiority. Long silence. Peter's breathing hard, still visibly angry. Jason says Emmanuel is already seeing someone. Some woman he met at a coffee shop. And apparently he's happier than Jason's seen him in a decade. Feel like I've been punched. It's been less than 3 months. Yeah, 3 months, and he's already more alive than he was in 11 years with you. What does that tell you? Peter heads toward the door, then turns back. You're brilliant at your job, Lydia. Genuinely brilliant. But you destroyed that man's spirit, and I hope whoever he's with now actually appreciates him. Sign the papers. Let him be happy. He leaves me alone in the conference room. I sit there for 20 minutes, trying to process. Spend the next week in a fog. Work suffers. I can barely concentrate. Keep replaying Peter's words. Keep thinking about Emmanuel being with someone else already. Someone young, probably. Someone who isn't as aware as I am. Someone who won't challenge him to grow. The anger starts building. How dare he move on so quickly? How dare he not even try to fix things? We were together for 14 years and he replaces me in 3 months. 2 weeks later, I'm getting coffee near my office. See Emmanuel through the window of a cafe. He's with a woman. She's young, definitely younger than me. Long brown hair, wearing a sundress, laughing at something he said. He looks light. There's this expression on his face I haven't seen in years. Genuine happiness. His whole body language is different. Relaxed. Open. The woman touches his arm while she talks. He covers her hand with his, smiling. Feel this surge of rage and grief so intense I can barely breathe. Without thinking, I walk into the cafe. Emmanuel sees me immediately. His face changes, the lightness disappearing. Lydia. His voice is flat, guarded. The woman looks between us, confused. Hi. Sorry to interrupt. Emmanuel, can we talk? Just for a minute? He exchanges a glance with the woman. This is Sophie. Sophie. This is Lydia, Lydia. Can't even call me his ex-wife yet. The divorce isn't final. Sophie extends her hand with a friendly smile. Nice to meet you. She seems sweet. She seems young. Shake her hand limply. How old are you, Sophie? Emmanuel closes his eyes. Lydia, don't. Sophie looks uncertain but answers. I'm 28. 13 years younger than me. Emmanuel is 39, so 11 years younger than him too. Laugh bitterly. Of course you are. Lydia, we're having a private conversation. Please. Emmanuel's voice has an edge I've rarely heard. Private? You're in a public cafe, and I think I deserve an explanation for how you moved on so quickly from a 14-year relationship. Sophie stands up gracefully. I'll give you some space. I'll be outside, Emmanuel. She leaves with her coffee. Emmanuel watches her go, his jaw tight. When he turns back to me, his eyes are hard. You don't deserve anything from me. You lost the right to explanations when you made me feel like shit about myself for 11 years. Sit down across from him without being invited. That's not fair. I was trying to help you become more aware, more conscious of... Aware of what, Lydia? His voice is rising now, angry in a way I've never heard. Aware of how everything I liked was wrong, how every thought I had was contaminated by the wrong influences, how wanting my own wife to touch me was problematic. People are starting to glance over. Emmanuel leans forward, speaking more quietly but with intense anger. Do you know what it's like to live with someone who treats you like you're fundamentally flawed? Who makes you feel like you have to apologize for existing the way you exist? I never made you apologize for existing. I just wanted you to think critically about bullshit. He actually raises his voice. You wanted me to think like you, to value what you value, to be interested in what you're interested in, and anything outside of that was beneath you. Feel defensive, attacked. I exposed you to ideas, to perspectives you wouldn't have considered otherwise. That's what partners do. They challenge each other to grow. No, Lydia. Partners support each other. Partners respect each other. What you did was relentlessly criticize. Emmanuel is on a roll now. Years of suppressed anger pouring out. I wanted to watch football with my brother. You gave me a lecture about bread and circuses and manufactured tribalism. I wanted to restore a vintage car with my dad before he got too old to work on engines. You told me it was a waste of money and environmentally destructive and probably sublimated sexual anxiety. He's ticking items off on his fingers. I wanted to take a camping trip with college friends. You said traditional male bonding rituals were regressive. I wanted to surprise you with a weekend getaway. You said spontaneous romance was a patriarchal script. I wanted to make love to my wife. You gave me a reading list about consent culture and made me feel like a predator for having desire. His voice breaks a little on the last one. Every single thing. I wanted or felt or thought you had some framework to explain why it was limited or problematic or unexamined. Do you have any idea how exhausting that is? How completely soul-destroying? I'm crying now, trying to defend myself. I was trying to build something better with you, a relationship based on real consciousness instead of just default patterns. I didn't need consciousness, Lydia. I needed kindness. Emmanuel slams his coffee cup down. I needed a partner who could just be with me without constantly correcting me, who could see something good in me instead of always finding something to fix. He's breathing hard, eyes wet. Do you know what Sophie said to me on our first date? I told her I was going through a divorce, and she asked me what I liked to do for fun. And I realized I couldn't answer, because I'd spent so long being told that everything I enjoyed was wrong that I'd stopped having fun entirely. This hits me hard, but I'm still defensive. So you found someone younger and less challenging, and that's your solution? Someone who won't push you to grow? Emmanuel laughs, but it's bitter. Less challenging? Sophie has a master's in biochemistry and works in pharmaceutical research. She's brilliant. She's also kind. She also likes me. The difference is she disagrees with me about things without making me feel like I'm morally deficient. She has her own opinions without dismissing mine as products of cultural programming. She challenges my ideas while respecting me as a person. He stands up, preparing to leave. And yes, she's younger. She's also joyful and warm and affectionate, and she doesn't treat physical intimacy like it's a political negotiation. She touches me like she actually wants to, not like she's granting me a privilege. I feel humiliated, desperate. Emmanuel, we built a life together, 14 years. You're throwing that away for some girl you barely know. He looks at me with something like pity. I'm not throwing anything away. You destroyed it, piece by piece. Year by year, every time you chose being right over being kind. Every time you chose your ideology over our relationship. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened. And the saddest part is, you still don't see it. He walks toward the door, then turns back. Sign the papers, Lydia. Let me go. I'm happy now. Actually happy. Don't drag this out. He leaves to join Sophie outside. Through the window, I watch him put his arm around her. She leans into him naturally, easily. They walk away together. I sit alone with cold coffee and hot tears. The next week is a blur. Can't stop thinking about Emmanuel and Sophie. Torture myself by driving past his brother Jason's house where he's been staying. His car isn't there. Probably at her place. Probably happy. Probably not being constantly criticized and corrected. The rage and grief cycle through me constantly. How did I become the villain in this story? I was trying to make things better. I was trying to elevate our relationship beyond the mundane. Wasn't I? Friday evening, my doorbell rings. It's Jason, Emmanuel's brother. He's 36, contractor, married with a daughter. We were never close. He always seemed to view me with polite distance. "Lydia, we need to talk." His voice is tight, controlled anger. "Jason, I really don't think—" "I don't care what you think. Let me in, or I'll say what I need to say right here on your porch." Step aside, let him in. He doesn't sit, just stands in my living room, radiating fury. "I want you to know what you did to my brother." Here we go again. Another man ready to blame me. "Jason, my marriage is between Emmanuel and me." "No, not anymore. You made it everyone's problem when you turned him into a shell of himself, when he'd come to my house and just stare at the wall, when my wife would try to talk to him and he'd barely respond because he'd been so beaten down he didn't know how to have a normal conversation anymore." Jason's fists are clenched. "Do you remember the barbecue 3 years ago? The one at my house?" I remember. Emmanuel had wanted to go. I'd complained. It was too hot, and the food wouldn't align with our meal plan. You showed up 2 hours late after Emmanuel begged you to come, and when you got there, you spent the entire time on your phone, barely spoke to anyone, and then announced you needed to leave early because the conversation was intellectually unstimulating. Did I say that? Probably. It was mostly people talking about their kids and home renovations. Emmanuel was so embarrassed, so hurt. My wife told me later she saw him tearing up in our garage, just standing there trying to compose himself. Didn't know that. After you left, he stayed. And you know what he did? He apologized to everyone for your behavior. He apologized for you being rude to his family. Jason steps closer, his voice rising. That became the pattern, didn't it? You'd belittle him, embarrass him, dismiss him, and he'd just absorb it. He'd make excuses for you. He'd try harder to make you happy, and nothing was ever enough. I had standards for our relationship, for how we communicated. Standards? You had a weapon. You used your intelligence and your vocabulary as weapons to make him feel small. Jason is shouting now, face red. My brother is a good man. He's kind and thoughtful, and he works hard, and he deserved a partner who appreciated those things. Instead, he got you, constantly telling him that his goodness didn't matter because he hadn't examined the right theoretical frameworks. Feel cornered, attacked. I was trying to build something meaningful, something examined. You were trying to build a monument to yourself, to your superiority, and you used him as the foundation. Jason paces my living room, too angry to stand still. Let me tell you about Sophie, since I know you met her. She came to dinner at my house last week with Emmanuel. You want to know what she did? Don't want to hear this, but can't stop him. She brought my daughter a book about women in science. They talked for an hour about chemistry and biology, and she explained things in a way an 8-year-old could understand. She helped my wife clean up after dinner without being asked. She laughed at my stupid jokes, and most importantly, he pauses for emphasis. She looked at my brother like he hung the fucking moon, like she was grateful to be there with him. When he talked, she listened, actually listened, didn't wait for her turn to correct him. Every word is a knife. And you know what Emmanuel did? He smiled. He laughed. Real laughter, not that nervous chuckle he developed around you. He held her hand. He was affectionate and open, and he seemed free. That's what you took from him, Lydia. His freedom to just be. You imprisoned him in constant self-consciousness, always monitoring himself, always wondering if what he was about to say would meet your approval or trigger another lecture. Crying again, can't seem to stop these days. I loved him. I do love him. Jason's laugh is harsh. You loved the project of him. You loved having someone to mold and improve. You didn't love Emmanuel. You didn't even like Emmanuel. If you did, you would have been able to just enjoy him instead of constantly trying to fix him. He heads for the door. He's happy now. Genuinely happy. And it's killing you, isn't it? That he found that happiness so quickly without you. That it was so easy for him once you were out of the picture. It is killing me. Sign the fucking papers. Don't contest anything. Let him have this. It's the least you can do after taking 11 years from him. Jason slams the door on his way out. I slide down the wall, sobbing on my living room floor. Next day is Saturday. My father calls. William, he's 68, retired from teaching history. He was always progressive, thoughtful, raised me to think critically. We've always had good conversations. Lydia, sweetheart, your mother told me about Emmanuel. Can I come over? Need to see a friendly face. Yes, please. He arrives, an hour later with groceries, makes me lunch while I sit at the kitchen table like a child. We eat in silence for a while. Then he speaks. I need to tell you something and you're not going to like it. Brace myself. I failed you as a father. Not what I expected. Dad, no, this isn't about... He holds up a hand. Let me finish. I raised you to value intelligence above almost everything else, to prize critical thinking, analytical ability, theoretical understanding, and I didn't balance that with teaching you kindness, compassion, grace. Dad sets down his fork, looks at me seriously. I saw how you treated Emmanuel over the years. Your mother mentioned it several times. She wanted me to talk to you. I didn't. I told myself it was your marriage, your business. But really, I was proud that you were so intellectually rigorous. I saw you applying everything I taught you. He looks pained. But I taught you wrong, or incompletely. I taught you to dissect ideas, but not to cherish people. To win arguments, but not to build relationships. To always be right, instead of sometimes being kind. Feel defensive even with my father. You taught me to have principles, to stand for something. I taught you to be alone. His voice is sharp now, angry. Because that's what you are now, Lydia. Alone. And it's my fault for not teaching you that being the smartest person in the room means nothing if no one wants to be in the room with you. Dad stands up, starts pacing like Jason did. That boy loved you. Emmanuel really loved you. I saw it in how he looked at you, even years into the marriage when you'd dismiss something he said at family dinners, even when you'd correct him in front of everyone. He'd just take it and keep loving you. I was engaging with his ideas. You were humiliating him. My father, who never raises his voice, is shouting. You made him feel stupid in front of his own family, in front of my family. You'd roll your eyes, use words you knew. He wouldn't know. Explain things in the most condescending way possible. He's red in the face now, angrier than I've ever seen him. I watched you do to your husband what I did to your mother for years before I learned better. The constant intellectual one-upmanship. The inability to just let something go. The need to always educate, always correct. Didn't know my parents went through something similar. Your mother almost left me. Did you know that? 23 years ago, she packed a bag and was ready to go because she said living with me was like being perpetually on trial for not being smart enough. Dad sits back down heavily. I had to learn, painfully, that marriage isn't a seminar. That love isn't about molding someone into your ideal. That partnership means accepting someone as they are, not as you wish they'd be. But Emmanuel had blind spots, real blind spots about, so do you. Dad slams his hand on the table. You have massive blind spots. You're so focused on theoretical frameworks that you miss actual human needs. You're so committed to being evolved that you've lost basic human warmth. He's breathing hard, trying to calm down. Emmanuel didn't need consciousness raising, Lydia. He needed a wife who'd watch a game with him sometimes, even if she found it boring. Who'd let him restore a car because it made him happy. Who'd make love to him without turning it into a philosophical discussion about desire and power. Every criticism cuts deeper. You know what Emmanuel told me? About 6 months before he left? Didn't know they talked privately. We ran into each other at the hardware store. He was buying something for the house. We got coffee, and I asked him how things were. Really asked. Dad's eyes are wet now. He said, I feel like I'm failing a test I didn't know I was taking, every day. He said he couldn't make you happy, that nothing he did was enough, that he'd stopped trying to share things with you because your response was always to explain why those things were beneath him or problematic. Dad wipes his eyes, and I gave him advice. I told him to be patient with you, that you were brilliant, and that brilliance came with sharp edges. I told him you loved him even if you had trouble showing it. I told him to keep trying. He looks at me with disappointment. I was wrong. I should have told him to leave, to find someone who actually appreciated him. Because you didn't, Lydia. You saw him as a project, not a person. Long silence. Dad composes himself. Your mother and I met Sophie. Emmanuel brought her to lunch last week. Feel betrayed. You met her. She's lovely, warm, intelligent, kind. She teaches weekend science workshops for underprivileged kids in her spare time. She's published research in major journals, and she treats your husband, your ex-husband, like he's precious. The word precious breaks something in me. During lunch, Emmanuel mentioned he was thinking about finally taking that trip to New Zealand he'd always talked about, the one you said was environmentally irresponsible and touristy. Do you know what Sophie said? Don't want to hear this. She said, that sounds amazing. We should start planning it. Just like that. Enthusiasm, support, no lecture. Dad stands to leave. I'm disappointed in you. Deeply disappointed. Not because your marriage ended, but because of why it ended. Because you couldn't love someone without trying to remake them. Because you valued being right over being kind. He stops at the door. Sign the papers. Let him go. And maybe take some time to examine your own blind spots instead of everyone else's. He leaves. I'm completely alone. Spend the weekend in complete despair. Everyone is against me. Everyone thinks I'm the villain. But I was just trying to build something better. Trying to create a relationship based on real awareness. Wasn't I? Start really thinking about specific memories. Emmanuel coming home excited about a promotion, me immediately analyzing the corporate power structures that made his achievement hollow. Emmanuel wanting to buy me flowers, me explaining how the flower industry was exploitative and the gesture was cliché. Emmanuel trying to plan a romantic anniversary, me critiquing the commercial construction of romance. Emmanuel reaching for me in bed, me moving away and suggesting we were beyond needing physical validation. Every memory has the same pattern. Him offering something, me explaining why it was insufficient or problematic. Him trying to connect, me using it as a teaching moment. Him being human, me demanding he be better. Monday morning, Peter stops by my desk again. Can we talk? Conference room? Follow him silently. He closes the door, sits down this time. His voice is calmer, but still firm. I heard about the confrontations. Jason told Emmanuel's friends word gets around. Nod, feeling numb. I want to say something else, and then I'm going to drop it because it's not really my business, but you need to hear it. Wait. You're going to be tempted to tell yourself a story about this, about how you were too evolved for Emmanuel, too conscious, too aware, how he chose someone simpler, less challenging, someone who won't push him to grow. It's like he's reading my mind. Don't tell yourself that story, because it's not true and it'll poison whatever comes next for you. The truth is harder. The truth is you were cruel. Maybe not intentionally, maybe you thought you were helping, but the impact was cruelty. You made someone who loved you feel worthless. Tears starting again, seem to cry constantly now. Sophie isn't less than you. She's not simpler or less challenging. She's just kind. She has boundaries without being punishing. She has standards without being contemptuous. She challenges Emmanuel without diminishing him. Peter leans forward. That's the skill you never learned. How to push someone to grow while still making them feel valued. How to disagree without dismissing. How to have principles without being rigid. He's right. I know he's right. What do I do now? Peter shrugs. Sign the papers. Go to therapy. Maybe actually examine your own behavior with the same rigor you applied to everyone else's. Learn that being smart isn't the same as being good. He gets up to leave, pauses. For what it's worth, I hope you figure it out. You're good at your job. You could be good at life too if you learned some humility. That night, I finally really look at the divorce papers. Emmanuel is asking for almost nothing. Just wants to split assets evenly, no alimony requested. He's making it as easy as possible. Just wants out. Wants to be free of me. I sign everything. Feel like I'm signing away 14 years. But really, those years were already gone. I just hadn't admitted it. 2 weeks later, I see them again. Emmanuel and Sophie at a restaurant. I'm walking past, and they're visible through the window. They're celebrating something. There's champagne. Sophie is showing him something on her phone, both laughing. He kisses her forehead. She lights up. The way she looks at him. It's how I never looked at him, not in 11 years. Maybe not ever. Emmanuel catches my eye through the window. We lock gazes for a long moment. There's no anger in his face anymore, just nothing. Indifference. He's moved on, completely. I'm just someone he used to know, someone who hurt him, someone he survived. He turns back to Sophie. Doesn't watch me walk away. I'm already forgotten. Finally understand what I lost. Not just Emmanuel, but the chance to be someone who built things instead of deconstructing them, someone who loved generously instead of conditionally, someone who valued kindness as much as consciousness. I destroyed something real because I was so sure I knew better, so sure that my framework was more important than his feelings, so convinced that being right mattered more than being loving. Peter was right. Jason was right. My father was right. I was cruel, dressed it up in intellectual language, made it seem like growth and evolution, but it was just cruelty. And now I'm alone with my principles and my frameworks and my consciousness. And Emmanuel is happy with someone who just likes him, someone who doesn't need him to be anything other than who he is. The worst part is understanding that I can't go back, can't undo years of criticism, can't resurrect what I killed through 1,000 small dismissals, can't compete with someone who offers warmth instead of correction. Sophie won not because she's younger or simpler, but because she offers what I never could. Acceptance, appreciation, joy. Sign the final papers. The lawyer processes everything quickly. Emmanuel wanted it done fast, wanted to move forward with his life, with Sophie, without me, owned by my own arrogance, destroyed by my inability to value what I had. The smart, aware, conscious woman, alone in her principles, while her ex-husband builds something beautiful with someone who understood what I never did. That love isn't about perfecting someone, it's about cherishing them, and I learned it too late.